Birch Creek Division, going out there to investigate that slough off, what's gonna happen, try to engineer and design fix for it. The agreement's actually with JEB Engineers, but it's a subcontractor to them to go and do it. I think it's Strata. Yeah, it's Strata. JEB is not charging any on top of just what Strata had bid for it. The bid is for $4,705. The contract is for that.
That's the one up above Birch Creek.
Yes. So this is the first thing on the agenda is to sign that contract.
And it's up to the guy to maybe wait for however long it takes for us to come up with funding.
Yeah, to actually, so this is actually to do the investigation and come up with a plan for the fix. Then we'll have a contract with JEB to actually do the design of the fix and go out to bid for how much it's gonna take to actually do the fix. First step.
Probably the last step won't happen when even the three of us are gone.
We'll see.
That's the joy of a 50-year plan, right?
I do know that I did go up there after we had talked about this, well, as we were talking about this, and the developer had a grader up beyond here and had done some work as if they were preparing to do more work on the roads that had been gravel.
What about the possibility of taking that back to a public right of way, privately maintained, private road?
I am certainly open to that.
See, because I remember the argument was public access, but the way the terrain, they almost have to go up around because there's a big draw or something up there.
There's a big draw and big canyon up there. So I don't have a single bit of problem if we decide to say this is gonna go back to a public road with private maintenance.
See, because that's what the guy pushed for at the beginning, and because of the cost of finishing the rest of the road.
Yeah.
Pull that up on the map,
How do we do that without, I mean, we've got
just revising.
an agreement to do maintenance on that.
So we would
get out of
do
that agreement.
the maintenance of it on that first section. We have not done an agreement to maintain all the back section. That's gravel right
So
now.
you're only talking about that part?
We're talking about the first 3 miles of that's paved.
That was, that's to help him figure out how to use that. We may have to put it all in the negotiation bag and then shake it up and see where we come out.
So it's one way to do it. I still think it needs to be a public road, but if it's privately maintained, it would be a burden off of road bridge.
Well, we have some of those in the back country that we do that with.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, see, because that goes down into a canyon.
Where's it at, right up in here, Lance?
Scroll to your east just a little bit south. No, you're going north. There you go, right there. You see all that road right there?
This is it?
That's it, yeah.
And where's the hookup to the public road Steve was talking about?
So there's, you'll see it, we can run it from here. So right now, this is Birch Creek Road out here. And so it comes up through and it's paved up and around and up over to about here. There's another connection over here to Mud Springs Road. This is the one that has the gate across it all the time and a fence across it. This one back here is the open one. The slough off is in this general area here.
Go down to Mud Springs. What are the other roads around Mud Springs? Because there's another
So
one that
Mud
comes up.
Springs comes off the Sluter Cutoff Road back down to Birch Creek down here. So this is Sluter Cutoff.
Right,
I think this is still called Mud Springs out through this area.
so there's still access, probably a better access through the Sluter Cutoff, isn't there, to that Mud Springs Road to come down just a little.
Generally speaking, people don't go through this subdivision to get to Mud Springs, though.
Right,
Because again, there's a gate right there as it comes out.
Public access, is that a locked gate or a?
It has been locked in the past, they have been told to take it down in the past, but it's one of those things that there's so little traffic that it doesn't do a whole lot of impact to us to
Whose
have.
gate is it?
I'm not even sure.
It's their gate. It would be the landowners.
I'm not even, I don't know if it's the landowners or not. I don't know.
Think it is. I actually helped Wayne Jensen build that fence around there.
how good is that Mud Springs Road to access into that?
It's a lot
So
longer.
it's a lot longer.
Yeah.
There's portions of it that are decent. There's portions of it that are not gravel, and it's just a dirt road. It's graded and drained, but it's not got gravel on a lot of
It's
it.
not a great road.
Well, but, you could still have it public right of way, privately maintained and preserve the access through there, couldn't you?
Well, if it's a public road with private maintenance, yeah, you would still maintain the access through there, and
Yeah,
you still have to have,
so you're not cutting
again,
off the
public
access.
access.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one thing you just want to look at is cutting off access.
if you're making a private road with private access, that's where you
Right.
start worrying about gates and fences and.
Because the argument that they used on Antelope Creek is you still have access, you can go up through Kemps.
Yeah, that'd be a long way.
Well, so, yeah, well, it's worth talking to the guy because of the cost of fixing it up and maintaining it for us.
And we don't know what that cost really is right now. This contract just gets that geotech up there and starts doing some
But
investigation.
we can't ever get out of maintenance for that paving portion that we've already accepted.
I think that it would come down to a decision of the county commissioners to say that we're not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, he would have to agree.
Yeah.
Because our position is it's summer maintenance only.
Yeah.
That gives him the option to get some type of access in there in the winter. If he wants to maintain it.
And we do plow the portion of Birch Creek Road, this portion of Birch Creek Road, basically up to that turnaround now, every winter. We just don't go beyond right now.
So the private maintenance, if you wanted to, he could keep that open the best he could in the winter time.
Yeah,
That'd be the negotiation we could enter into it. Okay.
Which house is Jerry's down here?
This one down.
Jerry's house is clear. Let's see, I think Jerry's, let's see, I think Jerry's house is out through here
Right there.
somewhere.
Is that one right there?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's Jerry's. He called this morning and said they've got some rain up there and it'd be a wonderful time to grade that road. He said it is so rough you can't stay on the road on the corners. Probably depends how fast you go.
I'm sure it does.
I assume we do another grade on that road in the fall.
We try to,
When we get
and
moisture.
certainly we have a lot of traffic on Birch Creek Road, so that's one of, that gets more attention than some of the other ones.
You're still gonna have hunters and stuff up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jerry was he was being real nice about it. He just said, let them know that we've got some moisture up here, and if we get more this week, it'd be a good time to grade it.
Yeah, it would.
I thought you guys were probably aware of that already.
Yeah, well, they may have some good moisture up there. We got probably too much moisture over the Long Valley Road. Wes had to put it in four-wheel drive a couple times, evidently this morning, to get through there this morning.
Well, you've got 2 or 3 days coming up that are supposed to be wetter than this.
That's good to hear. We need it.
We do need the moisture, we just want to make sure it doesn't flash flood.
So how do we get it all at once?
Which brings up another point, if I could keep talking here at the meeting. Stan called me yesterday, and he, I'm not sure where you're at with him. I think he's discussed this with you. He says we need one more culvert up there. Do you know that?
Where?
He said you want to split that water. We're in 2 different ways. I asked him, I said, you've already talked this over with Lance? And he said he had.
So what he's talking about is on Eagle Pass,
Yes.
and it's across his gated access into his ground off of there. What we said is there is one culvert. We think it's too small, and it comes across the culvert and then goes down that draw through the pumice pit and out on the Kep's Crossing. We want to put, another pipe in there, but we've asked him to pay for the pipe because he doesn't want to get rid of the old pipe that's too small. So if he'll pay for the pipe, 40
Which would be
foot
the
of it,
second culvert.
it would be a second culvert,
I
a
think
second
that's what he's
culvert,
talking about.
yeah. So we've asked him to pay for 40 feet of it, and we would pay for the rest of it, which is probably another 20 feet to do.
Okay. And you'll do the install if you'll pay for
Would do
the
the
pipe.
install if he'd pay for the, but he didn't wanna split the flow, he didn't wanna put part of it out through his field through the natural drainage. He wanted to keep it all in the road right away.
Well, he kept telling me yesterday that we gotta split it. We gotta split that street.
I was the one that told him.
Okay, well, I think he's
Maybe
agreeing.
he's rethought it, or
Yeah,
I think he's agreeing now.
Okay.
He was wanting to do that. Okay, so I'll report back to him that.
yeah, we just asked him to pay for 40 feet of pipe, and we would pay for the rest of the pipe and the install to get out there across his entrance.
How much is 40 feet?
It's about, what was it? It's a few grand, it's a few $1,000.
How many is a few? How much per foot is that?
I think it's like, it was $60 a foot. I think it was like 60 bucks.
$2,500.
Yeah.
We pay $1,250 for the other part
Yeah.
and
And the
install $3,000 worth of labor to install it.
Yeah,
So I'll get back to him with that. And then the other concern that he says is a concern with all the landowners up there is there's fiber contractors up there putting fiber in.
if they're putting fiber in, if they've got a right-of-way permit, which they may have, they may not. If they don't, I wish they would. But if they're going within the public prescriptive right-of-way,
they don't have to have a permit.
they have to have a permit, but we can't necessarily say they can't go down the road.
Well, they're telling him, so evidently he's had conversation with the contractors. And they're telling him that they do have a permit. But Stan's concern is,
You're tearing up his grass.
tearing up the rows, that there'll be weeds come in. He said they'll leave trenches unburied, and he said, how do we follow up to make sure they clean up their mess when they leave? I mean, it's a reasonable thing. Do you have a
So
mechanism?
that's
to do
part
that?
of the permit process, is we have a sign off on it. John Tullis is supposed to go back after the contractor lets him know that they're done. He's supposed to go and make sure that it's done.
Okay, so that process is in place.
The process is in place, whether contractors always follow it is maybe.
Well, and
If they don't,
If they don't,
we can do it and charge them.
we usually go back on them and say, hey, you need to come back and fix it. I don't know that there's a way to specifically charge them money. Usually we just try to get them to come back and fix it right.
We should look at our permit process to require that.
I wonder if there's a way you could build into the permitting process up front. They basically have to give you the cost of what it would cost to reclaim all that ground.
The cost of the permits would go up drastically to do that.
And then what I'm saying though is if they reclaim the ground, then they get that portion of it back, and if they don't, then the county has the money that they can go clean it up.
So to reseed it.
Yeah, or pay somebody to go clean it up.
Because remember the mess we had when they put some natural gas down 45th East?
Yeah, we still have a mess out there.
I know. So yeah, we might want to take a look at that. Put a little more oomph into it. If they don't do it.
I mean, that's what we do with a lot of stuff on
Right.
buildings, is we make them pay a certain fee up front. So if they don't remove the old structure like they say they're going to, then we can go back and remove it, or pay somebody to remove it, clean it up. But if they do, then we just basically give them all the money back.
First thing you want to check is see if they've got a permit.
Yeah.
And if they don't, maybe we revise our permit, require them to get the new one.
Because you're gonna see this happening a lot, these fibers.
We've had problems with that out in, Red Rock.
Yeah.
The fiber company put
Fiber
holes
company started and then walked
everywhere,
away.
and then they were gone for like 2 months, and they had just
Open
huge
holes.
holes open all over in all the swells, and
That's
people were
exactly
concerned
what's
about
bad.
kids falling in there. And
UPS guy fell in one.
yeah, I remember you telling me that. So I think it would be good if we had some kind of recourse on them, but I don't know what the ability is of that.
How quick can we get that done?
We can take a look at it and put something together. Maybe give us a couple weeks to try to see what it'd take. Some of that's depending on how much area. I mean, some of these fiber contractors are going 30, 40 miles of road. So how do you come up with a cost of 30, 40 miles of road?
It's so much a mile. All you gotta do is come up with a 1 mile cost.
Yeah.
That's not come up with a total amount cost.
So yeah, I think that's a valid concern.
I do too.
So we don't want to be stuck with it.
Right.
Okay. We can look at it.
That's all I had.
Okay. This is the contract that he signed.
I'm the magnet for complaints.
Cause you're a nice guy.
I try not to.
How's that work?
I gotta work harder.
How long
at
you
it.
been practicing?
I gotta work harder at it.
The second item is a local agreement with LTAC for the 3 bridges that got into the replacement project. It basically says that LTAC's gonna pay for all of this stuff. We agree to work with them and just help them out as far as we can. There's a few things on the attachment that I'm gonna have to type in, and basically, I'm gonna say Bonneville County will cooperate as best we can, and leave it at that. But that is the agreement with LTAC.
So is that a match, or are they paying all of it?
They're paying all of it. This
Thank
is
you
part of that
so
200
much
million.
for all your hard work.
For the local bridges?
Local Idaho, Leading Idaho Local Bridges.
Which ones are they doing?
Those.
Key numbers are on there.
I'll look at it. Curious.
What are you thinking, 17th North?
Oh, I'm just curious which ones they're,
Well, there's key numbers on there, so they don't have descriptions on
are
there.
they doing the one on Iona Road for us?
No, that's not the one in there.
Dang it.
Be nice to have that one done, wouldn't it?
And then, the last one is a change order for cell 4 expansion for Whitaker Construction. They are doing this change order to install a P-trap in the leachate line before it gets to the pond. It's an increase of $12,500. We talked to them a bunch about this, and this is to excavate and install it and get it all there. They wanted $30,000 to actually do the fusing of it, but our folks did the fusing of it, made it, and so the cost went down quite significantly. It's $12,500.
Where does the P go after you trap it? I always wondered about that.
It just holds it, and then it goes out later.
How are you? It's kind of a juicy 2-year-old.
How you found on the leachate level?
So the leachate level has gone, they've been pumping a lot, and the pond is down quite substantially right now.
You're still able to get some of it down to the river?
Yes, they've been putting close to 4 loads a day out there, and that's why the level has dropped. We're still worried about what's gonna happen when cell 4 starts up and all that leachate starts coming before we have any garbage in there. But that's, yeah, we've got it down a long way right now.
Get it down to empty?
They're close. They're close to empty right now. They may not quite get it empty because it's a continuous inflow.
Just in time for a couple inch rain.
Yeah, that's,
Three
it
inch
is
storm.
very concerning. But at least if it goes on the cell 4 area right now, before they put in a liner, some of it won't go into the ground. And after they put the liner on, until garbage is placed in there, we can divert it as stormwater. Depending on the regulator that you talk to, whether any amount of trash in there becomes leachate automatically or not. Most of the time they consider if there's a single piece of garbage in there, all of the water through there is now leachate. So that's why we're concerned about it.
Another thing, do we know when that zoning hearing is for the city out along 17th north?
They already had the annexation hearing.
And for the city council meeting, I don't think they've scheduled
Haven't
it yet.
scheduled it yet, the
Yeah.
notice hasn't come.
Okay, did you ever find the verification where your viewer, you said you heard him tell the residents out there that the county was gonna participate in fixing up the bridges and
Yeah,
the roads?
did you listen to the meeting? Yeah, I listened to the meeting, he said that in the meeting, I mean, I haven't told anything.
Well, can we pull it with minutes and everything and then have Lance send it over to the city council? To say,
I can try to find it, I know he said it, I heard him
because
say
it
it.
needs to be corrected at the city council level so they can see what we're dealing with. Because if he's representing to those residents to settle down, that we're
gonna participate.
and they've never approached you.
So I did bring that up in the meeting I had with the engineering staff, public works staff of Idaho Falls about that. And told them, it's like, we never had this discussion. I did not agree to that.
So they have already been.
Well, so the staff has been told that I never said that, but the city council probably hasn't
See,
said that.
it needs to go on the record that, hey, we need to make a correction here. Because it was represented, that didn't happen. They'll probably still do it the same, but.
I don't think I need to pull anything, especially if you've already reached it with them.
I breached it with staff, and I told them very directly that I didn't.
Would it be appropriate for Lance to email the city council directly?
Well, that's what I'm saying, Lance needs to, not us,
But is it appropriate for him to?
to get it, to request that this be read into the record.
Okay, so
Because here's a comment.
you're talking about when they are prepping for that meeting. Okay, yeah, I didn't think it would be appropriate beforehand.
Don't get it it over to them. I mean, now that it's already been approved and that, you could get it any time, and it should be there as one of the exhibits for the, because that's the behavior we're trying to modify.
Yeah.
To make it more workable, because that causes us all kinds of headache.
That would be very helpful.
They haven't published the minutes for that meeting yet. They have the recording.
So do they transcribe them just like you guys do?
Yeah.
Would
So
you
you
send
just,
that to
yeah,
me, or
I'll
how
just
do I
send you
delete
this link. So this is their agenda center and it has all the stuff for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah,
And then if you go to their other, the city councils looks the same, but I'll just send you the link so you're
Okay.
already.
See if Lance's letter can not have to have a lot of that detail, because he's already spoken to staff.
Right.
You know, he just outlines in his letter
That's what I
in that
Would
hearing,
I send that to Brad?
Mhm.
in that hearing, the public was told X. That's not true. We didn't agree. We weren't notified. We just want to make sure that the city council is aware of that fact.
Yeah.
Leave it at that, let them do what they will with it.
Okay. If you can send me your whatever to actually
Get to these.
get to that hearing and I can either see it or whatever, and it's like I can take that out of
take the draft.
Yeah, and I think you can download, I don't know, you'd have to look here, see if you can download the minutes, or the recording as it is, but this is where everything will be, so.
It was pretty long, that portion, talking about 17th North, so it'd be good when we get the transcribed minutes, so we just skim through it.
They do their minutes word for word though.
I don't think they do, they don't do transcriptions, they have somebody who types them out. We've switched, which I don't know how they get away with that, cause you're supposed to do, I mean, I guess for the minutes, you can have minutes, but you have to have a transcription.
I can try to listen to it again and find the
Yeah, 'cause
time.
if you could put it in quotes, what they said
Yeah,
in the meeting, so you've got it documented.
either that or out of watching the video of September 7th at approximately this time.
Yeah,
Frame.
I'll try to find it,
Okay.
and I'll get it to you.
Just part of that continuation of the meeting we had where we pointed out the sticking points and hopefully we get them smoothed out.
All you have to do is go to the meeting and just say that you sent an email, even if you didn't or not, and that'll work.
I don't wanna go to the meeting.
And by the way, a really good dry answer that you gave Lisa Burton when she asked, when she pointed out that you've been attending meetings, and you corrected her that, well, we met last week, we're gonna meet some
That's the first time.
It was absolutely true.
more. I know,
That's why.
But they need to hear that,
Yeah.
because otherwise they just think it's the political bickering.
I just love the way you said it. Just no emotion, well, we met last week and we're gonna meet again. That was good.
One other thing, have you got that alignment, for that 150?
Yeah.
150 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did wanna talk about that. Huh? We did wanna talk about it.
I was talking to John, we used to have some of these projects that if the fall went long and we got a lot of fall work done, we would have a fall or winter project that you may or may not even finish. But you could go up there and start building that in segments if BLM would go along with it.
We'd wanna have the paperwork in place well before we start turning dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even if it's, put it in the queue for next fall.
Yeah.
Because it's some winters, if we did the frost in the ground, we used to do that quite a bit. That's how we got a lot of those west side roads rebuilt. We don't, no deadline, just get into as much as you can till you get into the snow.
You're talking about, I don't know what that would cost. Millions
quite a bit of money.
600 feet long.
If we did it, talking about we do it with our own gravel source and our own, don't contract it.
Is it something we need? I mean,
Well, that's one of the questions we have on
Where's
here.
the payoff between what it costs us to keep the dugway open and
So we don't keep the dugway open, and that was one of the other questions I had, is the intent of this to keep that section of 115th open all winter long.
No, what the problem you've had is the repairs that we have to get into on that dugway, because of the bogs and everything else.
So the dugway itself hasn't been as big a problem as some of the other sections of the road. No, the dugway itself is pretty well built, but it takes longer to clear it off the snow in the spring to open up the road. That's been the major complaint from Foster.
Because when he was talking, I got the impression that the dugway was the.
well, his concern is diverting winter traffic around it, snowcats and the snowmobiles, so that the dugway doesn't turn to ice.
Yeah.
And then take an extra 2 weeks to melt off. That's where he was going, so that's
so
where
how
I
do
like
you
to see
divert
us
winter
start.
traffic to that? You have to mark it so they know where to go when it's coming from snow.
Well, so if you do this road around, you won't have the traffic on the dugway, but again, you're gonna have the traffic on the road itself. And so out where it's shown through this alignment, there wouldn't be near as much compaction with the winter travel. Right, there wouldn't be as much, and so we would likely be able to get in and open it up a little bit earlier in the spring.
And that's what Chapel was asking, is that we divert winter traffic, snowcat traffic around. And I don't know how we do that, John, that's a good question.
This is all farmed right now. It's all farmed, and so I don't know how you would direct traffic out through this area without actually constructing a road.
Don't you have those little wood bowls like you see at Dial Park?
Yeah.
You know, where you can just kind of mark a path.
We don't.
But if we could,
And you
and
have to put them in after the harvest and before the ground freezes.
I mean, we're only dealing with one person for the snowcat, right? Or is it used by multiple
There's
snowcats?
multiple people, multiple different windmill companies that end up going up through there. Primarily one.
Snowmobilers, but I'm thinking, once you get the snowcat traffic going around, snowmobilers would follow, maybe.
No, I wouldn't count that.
But you just put a barricade at the bottom of the dugway. You know, with an arrow detour.
Well, you might be able to, but trying to get somebody to actually follow that.
Everybody follows what the rule you said.
I disagree.
I can see the challenge, I think it'd be helpful if we could, but I can see the challenge of doing it.
If you got permission and you can find a way, just to kind of mark it out there. You know, winterized vehicles.
And the barricade would be the best way to, you know, tell people to go that way.
Yeah. And we could certainly try it, but
Would the state be okay with that? If the GIS is correct, that's state Idaho that owns that?
That's, I've emailed it to them. They're the ones who made the offer. I didn't ask them.
The state did.
Yeah, it was Idaho Department of Lands. I said, well,
I mean,
instead of just
if
giving
they would be,
a winter route across there, we'll just give you
well,
a
it
road
would
right
be a
away.
descriptive,
But if they give us a road right away, we can mark it as the winter use. We
yeah,
don't have to build a road on it, right? Is that?
and we would have to put up a trail marker or something like that as follow this way. But again, yeah, we would have
You
to,
have to put them up in
Put
the
it
fall
up in
and
the
take
fall.
them down in the spring. And
Replace it before.
and if
next
you
fall.
put American flags at the top, they're less likely to get shot at.
Well, if it's,
That's the
If
big
they're
takeaway
gonna-
from my meeting in Afton.
if they're gonna give us right of way, couldn't you put it in and leave it in?
No, cause it's
No, they
farm.
farm all the way through that.
That'll come on their side when they talk to
Oh,
Johnson
they're
about,
giving us winter right of way, not full time.
They don't
No,
need to give us.
they're giving us full-time right away, so.
To divert the road.
I mean, I see what Austin's saying.
I'm just
they
saying, could you
won't
not-
farm it anymore.
Well, and
you know?
Could you
That
not put the
means-
posts in permanently, put the roadblock through the Dugway for winter months, and then you just flip that roadblock in the summer months when you go out to move it, you put it over that trail, and you've got it marked the whole time, instead of taking it
You
in and out
can't just,
every
you
year.
can't just leave that unfarmed,
Why?
because it's gonna be farmed on, and it's gonna be raw dirt, it's gonna be weeds, and then it's gonna erode, and. I mean, it's either gotta be natural vegetation, or it's gotta be, I would think,
We could seed it grass, you know. Seed it to like you do with CRP, couldn't you? Just turn it to.
is that gonna take away the parts that are between it and the existing road from Johnson's
I wonder
east?
how many acres that is.
And all of that might be more work.
That's all
Just
stuff.
balance and
Well,
put
and
some barricades up each year.
those are questions
Sure.
that IDT are gonna, or Idaho Department of Lands are gonna deal with on the lease.
But the other thing that'd be nice to see is, does that help that Dugway bear off any quicker?
That's true, that might
It'd be a good.
try it for 2 winters.
Do it the first year and see what happens.
Yeah, cause I'm not as convinced as
You
Chapel is.
need a heavy snow winter
Keeps
and
it 2 or
a
3 extra weeks.
really cold winters.
Well, and I assume Chapel's got snowmobiles going up and down there
I
most days,
would bet.
going to those cellars, so maybe he would kind of help us keep that diverted around there. I mean, that's who we're doing it for.
That's based on him actually following signs too.
And now Roger accuses me of being gullible.
No, I agree. I think he wants it bad enough that he'd help us,
I would hope so.
you know? But the key would be tell him, you get out there and blaze the trail, and then if you have a barricade there, but people are gonna follow what looks like a normal trail. You know, unless they wanna get into the powder and go the Dugway.
Especially it would be more gradual. I assume that Dugway could get a little dicey in the winter.
I imagine so, but for a snowmobile, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, but it'd be easier to slip around it.
The grades on even out through here are approaching, what, 8 to 10 degrees, right?
And it's 12%.
12% on,
What's the grade on the Dugway now?
it's steeper than that, I think,
Steeper than that.
but it's still a pretty good climb. I mean, one way or another, it's still a pretty good climb.
You gotta go all the way around or go up and down.
It's a lot further.
So what's the relationship between this part of the project and the just straightening out the bumps and the other thing we talked about up there?
So
This
this
would
doesn't
have-
really get down to there.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be something else, but that actually gets onto private ground. Down through that second Dugway is on Johnson ground. It's not on BLM or.
Right, but we don't have the right of way, or right of way doesn't extend, so if we're just lining up the power poles.
No. We have a prescriptive right of way that's off the existing road. So you go off the existing road 25 feet, and that's all our prescriptive is.
I would like to see us try. Yeah,
You know, what was out there.
I could get a hold of Dave and tell him what we're trying to do.
Let's see what it costs us for winter markers.
Well, I don't think it costs us all that much to get some markers, depending on what they are. We can really get some.
First step is probably to have John get
Go out there.
some
and
written
try to
from BLM.
Stake a line
I
and
really
everything.
am curious to see what Paxton has on it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was.
So I think that's gotta be the
Oh,
first step.
yeah, I agree.
Getting the easement or the right of way from BLM.
Yeah.
If they'll give us either an easement or a right of way out there, I think we can figure out how to maybe stake it out to try to direct people around.
Okay.
That's all I had.
How much,
Oh, I'm sorry, I
just thought of one more thing. Scott asked us where we were with the lease with roads, if we've heard anything back.
I have not heard anything back.
Is there,
I think we need to send a notice now, don't plan this because you're default.
well, that's what we were talking yesterday, is we kind of need a drop dead date.
The drop dead date was basically the end of September. That's what I said in the letter. We had till the end of September.
So we give them till then and then send it a little letter.
Rushes up there,
Drills in a hurry.
gets it drilled.
Well, it's still a drop dead date for the lease. He's
Yeah,
gonna do the
if
lease.
he hasn't got a renewed lease,
And he's got no.
Then we'd be harvesting.
Okay, well, Scott was trying to clean up his files, so I'll let him know we're still working on it. And if there was an end date. he was
yeah,
curious.
I believe it was either September, the end of September or October 1st, one or the other.
Sorry, I interrupted you, John.
That's okay.
I did have one other question. So you saw the email I sent you about Crestwood and about participating in the cost.
I think that's a positive move on the city that we should, you know, I know we've kind of told you just about late patch it, but we're not ever facing it. Necessity sometimes drives a solution, but, you know, for $20,000
$40,000.
is our share.
Our share would be $40,000.
Okay, I thought it was 40, and then you'd split it with us.
Yeah, no, that portion would be what we would have to pay.
What is
$40,000.
their, what's the city fee?
They didn't tell me. But all he did is he come up with a cost estimate of that 1,100 foot that is county jurisdiction, and that would be $3,000.
I thought you said we would split that.
I think that was our portion of the overall. Well, that's the way I read it. I read it very clearly that our portion is $40,000.
That's good. I guess I read it differently, but cost was, that was associated and our share.
So,
And which the city would split.
well, the way it's worded may be confusing, but I am absolutely positive that he would have written it as far as our share is $40,000. Let me read it here. With the existing bid prices for the intersection project at $120 a ton, we are looking at about $40,000 for a 2-inch overlay on this older stretch. And the older stretch would be our portion to pay for.
Did you say that the city would split that cost? They offered to split it with us.
Splitting costs of overlaying over, so he said that, but I guarantee you he's not interested in paying for our portion of that.
He said,
Well, let's split
he
it.
offered to split it, call him on it.
What is it?
Okay.
Read that again.
So our construction group indicated final curb placement will happen this week, followed closely by paving on Crestwood. Is there still no interest in splitting costs, overlaying the older portion of this roadway?
It does sound like that.
Yeah, I take him up what he literally said, that you went to the commissioners, were willing to
Split the 40,000.
Split the cost of the overlay.
It does kind of sound that way, Roger. You're right. I didn't read it that way the first time.
Yeah, I will check, but I'm pretty positive.
But we
Have a smiley face on when you ask.
We'll give you $20,000 towards fixing that on their
Okay.
contract.
Yeah, get back and said, yeah, the commissioners would be happy to split the cost of that with me,
Otherwise,
as indicated.
otherwise we'll continue to blade patch it.
Okay, well, even at 40,000, I think that it'd be well worth it.
Well, you'd have to come back to the commissioners, tell them you don't think they're in the mood for that, so.
Okay. I'll tell them that.
Use your best negotiating skill.
Okay, I'll
With
try.
that straight face like Brian, appreciated your answer. Cause, there
That
were
was
two
sweet. I was
times-
watching her when you said that.
Who?
Michelle.
Oh.
I was watching her when this.
Really got a good smile
It's just good.
on my face as, when they well turned, you know, cause we brought this up and they never